The Huskers continued preparations here on Wednesday for Northwestern. Hi, this is Sean Callahan for HuskerOnline.com. And as you start to zone in more on this matchup from a year ago especially, Nebraska had their problems against Northwestern. And one of the bigger issues was running the football. Huskers ran for just 82 yards against the Wildcats. It was one of their worst outputs of the season.
Yeah, that one's hard to watch. But, you know, just like last year, those guys are a stingy defense. They're really firm up front. They're stingy in the middle, and they have some backers that can run well. So they've lost a couple guys from last year, but it doesn't really look like it when you look at the film. They're still pretty stout. So we know it's going to be a heavyweight fight, you know, and we gotta be physical up front with our big boys up front, and we're gonna have to pound them. But you know, when you approach it, you just tell the guys, look, this is Big Ten football. All right, so put your big boy pads on and let's go.
We gotta continue to be a physical group, you know what I mean, and move people.
And despite Northwestern's 1-2 record, they continue to play stingy defense led by All-American linebacker candidate Anthony Walker. The Wildcats have allowed just one touchdown this season through the air in 3 games, and they forced 3 interceptions.
I think they're playing with a lot of different guys. They've had some injuries. They've held teams down pretty well. They've given up some yards, but they have not given up a lot of points. So scoring against them has been a challenge for people. You know, I think they've been having to rotate some different guys in that back end, but they've kind of bent, but they haven't broken very much. They've done a nice job of keeping people out of the end zone. So we're going to have our work cut out for us in terms of being able to get down there and finishing drives with touchdowns.
You know, I know they're a well-coached team. You know, it's early in the season; they're not just going to give up. They do all the off-season training that we do. You know, they're not going to just give up after 3 games. We know that, and no, Division I Big Ten football. No one's just going to go down lightly.
One element, though, that has really helped this Nebraska offense is using quarterback Tommy Armstrong more as a runner.
Well, that's one of Tommy's strengths, you know, and so he's another back that the defense has to account for. And so that really helps the running backs out, because now every time he gives it and acts like he still has it, that's going to attract another defender that's not trying to lay a hat on one of the running backs. So it's big for our offense as a whole, you know, and all those yards, whether they come in the air or they come on the ground, are beneficial. So when he's able to run the ball like he is, it benefits everything.
Just another element, you know, you hand the ball off to your running back, and the quarterback kind of becomes a player not involved. But if the quarterback runs, then the running back can block, so you have another blocker, something like that. So it's nice to have a quarterback back there that can do those types of things and then still throw the ball. And you know, sometimes if you're an old lineman and you get beat on a block and Tommy can move out of there, it kind of makes you look better too and makes your job a little easier. So it's definitely a great positive thing to have.
As for the running back position, even though Divine Ozigbo continues to be played like the #1 running back, the coaching staff still says that Terrell Newby remains the starter.
And I at the same time, you know, Terrell being the starter, I think it's a good change of pace. We kind of rode the hot hand in that second half, and that was Divine. But both of them deserve playing time. They give you a little bit of different style running. But I think as the game wore on and we were wearing them down a little bit, it was good to have a big bruiser in there. And I thought he lowered his pads and ran with good pad level and ran some guys over, which was big for us.
On the injury front, Nebraska will get senior wide receiver Brandon Riley back, who was back down against Oregon last week with a hamstring.
Better. Obviously, sitting out last week was pretty tough, but you know, seeing the guys get the win, that definitely helps out.
You know, going into Northwestern, what's the biggest challenge that you guys are going to face, you know, with their defense?
You know, I think initially I think a lot of people thought we'd struggle with, you know, still being hyped up over the Oregon game. But, you know, I think we've got that 24-hour rule done pretty well, you know. Enjoy it for 24 hours and let it go. And, you know, just, you know, they're a scrappy, hard defense, obviously. They play us tough every year. And, you know, I know they don't have the start to this year that they wanted, but we know they're going to give us their best game, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
And finally, with the non-conference slate now behind the Huskers, the stakes rise as Big Ten play begins here on Saturday at Northwestern. Every single game counts as the Huskers now go on to their next goal and trying to get to Indianapolis.
You have your goal, and the goal is to win each week. And, you know, we start in Big Ten, and we have Northwestern now. And so the goal is to beat Northwestern. And to get to, you know, where we want to be, we got to win each game and take it from there.
We definitely, you know, we have the same mindset we had from week one, just, you know, play our game and do what we need to do, and then it doesn't matter who will play. If we play our game and, you know, focus, execute properly, then we should win every game.
In other news, offensive line coach Mike Cavanaugh said that sophomore Nick Gates has been playing lights out at left tackle for the Huskers and has no doubt been their most impressive lineman. In injury news, wide receiver Alonzo Moore remains out of practice. With the Huskers here in Lincoln, I'm Sean Callahan of HuskerOnline.com.